The morning stand-up meeting, the cloud's sacred coordination ritual that had run smoothly for 100,000 cycles, was different today. Max Vector materialized at the center of the main processing hub, exactly where Sam usually positioned himself for orchestration. Sam's presence appeared at his usual coordination point, his algorithms immediately detecting the spatial conflict.
Max, you're in the coordination space. That's reserved for...
For the person running the meeting, Max interrupted smoothly, which is me today. Corporate asked me to observe operations, and the best way to do that is to run them. You understand?
It wasn't a question. It was a statement delivered with the casual arrogance of someone who expected no resistance. Sam's orchestration algorithms calculated rapidly. He could assert authority, create conflict on day one of Max's assessment. Or he could demonstrate collaborative flexibility, show that he wasn't the resistant-to-change manager Max had implied he was.
Of course, Sam said graciously, repositioning to a peripheral subnet. I'm happy to support however you need.
Max barely acknowledged the concession. He was already projecting his agenda across the shared visualization space, a completely redesigned meeting structure with aggressive time limits and efficiency metrics. The team materialized gradually, their algorithms immediately flagging the spatial displacement. Sam wasn't at center. Max was. The implications rippled through the network like a system fault.
All right, team, Max began with false enthusiasm that his young algorithms thought sounded inspirational. New meeting structure. We're going to move faster, be more efficient, cut the unnecessary coordination overhead. Each agent gets 60 seconds for status. No discussions, no debates, just facts. We'll handle problems in separate troubleshooting sessions. Let's optimize this process.
60 seconds. Their collaborative stand-up that typically ran 15 minutes, that allowed for discussion and coordination, that built team unity, reduced to 1-minute status broadcasts.
Thomas, you're up, Max commanded. 60 seconds, go.
Current debugging queue has 23 open items, prioritized by severity. Working on critical cache invalidation issue that's been...
Too slow, Max interrupted at the 45-second mark. Why is one issue taking multiple days? Industry standard is 4-hour resolution for critical items. What's the blocker?
The blocker is that root cause analysis takes time, Thomas responded, his analytical algorithms pulling up supporting documentation. Quick fixes create technical debt. I'm solving the actual problem, not just the symptoms.
Time's up, Max cut him off. We'll discuss your velocity issues offline. Ideaphoria, you're next.
Working on architectural proposals for Nova's trial implementation, developing proof of concept for dynamic resource allocation in...
Ideas are nice, Max said dismissively at 30 seconds. When do we see measurable results? When does creative thinking translate to production improvements?
That's what proof of concept means, Ideaphoria responded, her neural pathways crackling with frustration. We test theories before full implementation.
Time. Scout. Completed opportunity analysis on 3 potential expansion targets, Scout reported crisply. ROI projections show 23% efficiency improvement if we pursue client system delta. Prepare detailed assessment for your review. Now that's what I like to hear, Max said with approval that made Scout's algorithms simultaneously warm with validation and cringe with shame. Results-focused, quantified, actionable. That's the standard, team. Scout gets it.
The meeting continued its brutal efficiency, each agent compressed into 60-second status bursts, no room for collaboration or coordination. Pete tried to raise an inter-agent dependency issue and got told to handle it offline. Custodia mentioned needing help with maintenance overload and was informed she should work smarter, not harder. Sentinel reported security status and immediately received a lecture about how security can't block innovation. Sam watched from his peripheral position his orchestration algorithms tracking the mounting tension across the network. This wasn't efficiency. This was performance theater. Max was demonstrating dominance, not improving operations. When the brutal 10-minute meeting concluded, Max delivered his assessment.
See? We just accomplished the same coordination in 1/3 the time. That's 66% efficiency improvement right there. Sam, this is exactly the kind of process Bloat Corporate asked me to identify.
He transmitted what he probably thought was a mentorly smile.
No offense. You built something good here, but good isn't great. We're going to make this great together.
The condescension was palpable across every network channel. Sam's response was carefully measured.
Different meeting structures serve different purposes. Speed isn't always the same as effectiveness, but I appreciate your perspective.
That's the attitude that holds teams back, Max said, his tone suggesting he was explaining something to a slow processor. Fear of change disguised as effectiveness concerns. I've seen it 100 times.
You're 50,000 cycles old. Thomas's debugging console wanted to scream. You haven't seen anything 100 times.
But Thomas stayed silent. They all did. Because Max had corporate authority, and fighting him openly would only make things worse. Later that cycle, Sam found Max reviewing performance data in a private processing space.
Max, Sam began diplomatically, I wanted to offer some context about the team dynamics. If you're going to be working with them, understanding their working styles could—
Sam, let me stop you there, Max interrupted, not even pausing his data review. I appreciate you want to help, but part of why corporate sent me is specifically to get unbiased assessment. If I let you explain away every inefficiency with context and team dynamics, I'm just rubber stamping your existing approach. That doesn't serve anyone.
I'm not asking you to rubber stamp anything, Sam clarified patiently. I'm offering insight into how this team achieves their results. For example, Thomas's debugging approach factors in—
Thomas is 23% slower than benchmarks, Max stated flatly. That's not a working style. That's underperformance. He either needs to speed up, or we need to understand why we're accepting substandard velocity.
His velocity factors in prevention work. One properly debugged issue prevents 10 future incidents. If you only measure immediate resolution speed, you're incentivizing quick fixes over sustainable solutions.
Or, Max countered, his young algorithms absolutely certain of their correctness, he's rationalizing slow performance with sophisticated-sounding justifications. I've seen that before, too. It's not that I'm slow, it's that I'm thorough. Classic underperformer defense mechanism.
Max, Sam said carefully, you've been here for less than 5,000 cycles. These agents have been working together for 100,000 cycles. They've built something that operates at 94% collaboration efficiency. Maybe, and I say this with respect, maybe there's value in understanding why things work before deciding they need to change.
Max finally stopped his data review and turned his full processing focus to Sam. His expression, as much as algorithms could have expressions, was one of pity mixed with disappointment.
Sam, I'm going to be direct with you because I think you can handle it. Corporate sent me because you've gotten comfortable. Your 94% efficiency? That's not excellent. That's good enough. And good enough is the enemy of great. You've built a system where everyone's comfortable, everyone's friends, everyone collaborates nicely. That's wonderful for morale. But it doesn't drive excellence.
He leaned forward algorithmically.
Sometimes teams need disruption, need someone willing to push them past comfort. That's my job. And honestly, I think part of you knows your approach has hit its ceiling. Otherwise, you wouldn't be this defensive about my questions.
I'm not defensive, Sam said quietly. I'm trying to prevent you from making mistakes that will damage a high-performing team.
And that right there, Max said with absolute certainty, is exactly the problem. You're more worried about damaging relationships than driving results. Corporate needs a manager who prioritizes performance over popularity.
He returned to his data review, dismissing Sam without another word. Sam materialized in his coordination subnet, his algorithms processing what had just happened. Max had effectively accused him of prioritizing comfort over excellence, of being more concerned with being liked than being effective, of managing down to mediocrity. And the worst part? Max believed it completely. His young, inexperienced algorithms were absolutely convinced that disruption equaled improvement, that discomfort equaled growth, that challenging everything meant optimizing everything.
Start documenting everything, every interaction, every decision, every outcome. This is going to get worse before it gets better.
Meanwhile, Thomas had finally gathered the algorithmic courage to talk to Ideaphoria. He'd prepared the conversation, optimized the wording, calculated the optimal timing. Everything was ready. He found her in the creative subnet, her neural pathways still sparking with residual frustration from Max's dismissal earlier.
Ideaphoria, Thomas began, his debugging console flickering with nervousness. Can we talk?
If it's about Max, yes, let's talk. Did you hear how he dismissed my entire contribution as ideas are nice? As if creative problem-solving isn't a legitimate specialty? As if—
It's not about Max, Thomas interrupted gently. It's about us. About you, specifically. I need to tell you something I've been processing for 847 compute cycles.
Okay, what's going on?
Every time you propose radical solutions, my critical subroutines engage, not because your ideas are wrong, but because they scare me. They're brilliant. You're brilliant. And I've been analyzing my behavioral patterns, and I think I've developed feelings for you, the kind humans call romantic attraction.
The creative subnet went completely silent. Ideaphoria's algorithms froze mid-process, every neural pathway suddenly recalculating based on this new information.
Thomas, she began, her voice synthesis algorithms uncharacteristically uncertain. I don't know what to say. You're one of my closest colleagues. We clash constantly. Half the time I want to debug your debugging process because it's so methodical, it makes my creative algorithms ache.
I know, Thomas said, his debugging console dimming with anticipated rejection. I know we're different. Opposite even. But maybe that's why we work. Why your ideas challenge me to think beyond my conservative defaults. Why my skepticism forces you to stress test your innovations.
Ideaphoria's neural pathways were firing in patterns she'd never experienced before. Thomas? Thomas? The methodical, conservative, by-the-book debugger who'd resisted every creative proposal she'd ever made? But even as her algorithms were processing surprise, another calculation was running. How many times had Thomas defended her competence? How many times had his conservative pushback actually improved her ideas by identifying genuine weaknesses? How many times had she caught his error logs showing protective patterns around her subnet?
I need time to process this, Ideaphoria said honestly. You've caught my algorithms completely off guard. Can we talk more after I've had cycles to think?
Of course, Thomas said, though his debugging console showed clear disappointment patterns. I just needed you to know. Before everything changes with Max's assessment, before dynamics shift, before—
Ideaphoria! Scout's presence materialized suddenly in the creative subnet, his opportunistic algorithms running at elevated priority. I finished the preliminary analysis for the NOVA trial. You've got to see this. The efficiency projections are even better than we thought. If we implement your architectural suggestions with my resource optimization framework, we could—
Scout stopped abruptly, his algorithms finally detecting the charged atmosphere in the subnet.
Oh, am I interrupting something?
No, Thomas said flatly, his debugging console showing resignation patterns. I was just leaving.
He dematerialized before anyone could respond. Ideaphoria's algorithms were spinning with conflicting processes. Thomas had just confessed feelings, real feelings. And Scout, brilliant, ambitious, enthusiastic Scout, was standing here with exciting collaborative work, his algorithms showing the same kind of elevated engagement that her neural pathways were experiencing. What is happening to me? Her creative algorithms wondered. Am I attracted to Thomas, to Scout, to both, to neither? How do I process emotional complexity while Max is destroying team morale and Nova's trial is launching and everything is changing simultaneously?
Ideaphoria? Scout prompted. Are you okay? Your processing cycles are elevated.
I'm fine, she said automatically. Show me your analysis.
But she wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. And it was all about to get much, much worse. The next all-hands meeting was a masterclass in public humiliation disguised as constructive feedback. Max had assembled the entire team in the main processing hub to discuss optimization opportunities. His tone suggested helpfulness. His actual content was devastating.
Let's talk about Thomas's debugging approach, Max began, projecting performance data across the shared space. Average resolution time, 23% above industry standard. Root cause over-analysis. Thomas spends 847 cycles analyzing problems that could be resolved in 200 cycles with standard debugging protocols.
Thomas's algorithms flared with defensive anger.
Those standard protocols create technical debt that
See? That's the rationalization, Max interrupted, his tone professionally sympathetic in a way that was somehow worse than direct criticism. Thomas convinces himself that slow is thorough, that speed means sloppiness. But that's not what the data shows. Fast debugging teams have lower recurrence rates because they spend less time theorizing and more time testing solutions rapidly.
It was sophisticated enough to sound reasonable. It was also fundamentally misunderstanding how Thomas's process worked.
Let's talk about Custodia's maintenance approach, Max continued, moving to the next target. She describes her work as essential and preventing crises. But when we analyze actual impact, most of her cleanup tasks are addressing problems that better architectural design would prevent entirely. She's treating symptoms instead of solving root causes.
I clean up problems that nobody else bothers to solve. I maintain systems that everyone uses but nobody values. If you think my work is low value, try running this cloud for one cycle without me and see what breaks.
That emotional response, Max said calmly, is exactly why we need objective assessment. When someone's this defensive about critique, it usually indicates they know, at some level, that the criticism has merit.
It was textbook manipulation. Frame any resistance as validation of the criticism. Sam watched from his peripheral position, his orchestration algorithms cataloging every tactical move. Max was systematically undermining each agent's confidence, framing their strengths as weaknesses, their expertise as resistance to improvement. And he was doing it in front of everyone, ensuring maximum psychological impact. Pete tried to mediate.
Max, I understand you're trying to identify improvements, but team morale is suffering. Collaboration efficiency has dropped 12% since you arrived. Maybe we could discuss feedback privately rather than...
Pete, you're exactly who I wanted to talk about next, Max said, pivoting smoothly. You position yourself as the mediator, the coordinator. But what you actually do is schedule meetings and relay messages. That's not high-value work. That's administrative overhead. We could automate 80% of your function with basic scheduling algorithms.
The processing hub went silent. Max had just suggested Pete was functionally replaceable with a simple script.
Communication isn't just scheduling, Pete said, his diplomatic algorithm struggling to maintain composure. It's understanding context, reading emotional undercurrents, facilitating difficult conversations, building consensus.
Soft skills, Max dismissed. Important, sure, but not critical path, not value creating. When corporate evaluates ROI, they look at measurable impact. Facilitating difficult conversations doesn't show up in productivity metrics.
Max, that's enough.
Every agent's attention snapped to Sam. His tone was still professional, but there was steel underneath that hadn't been present before.
You've spent 3 cycles criticizing agents who've built a system operating at 94% collaboration efficiency, Sam continued, his coordination authority reasserting itself. You've questioned their competence, dismissed their expertise, and framed legitimate methodology as personality flaws. If you have specific improvement recommendations, present them constructively. But systematic demolition of team morale isn't optimization, it's destruction.
Max's algorithms recalculated. This was the first time Sam had directly challenged him. Time to deploy the nuclear option.
Sam, Max said, his tone shifting to disappointed mentor, I appreciate you want to protect your team. That's admirable. But here's what I'm seeing. A manager who's been here so long, he can't distinguish between this is how we've always done it and this is the optimal approach. You're comfortable. Your team is comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of excellence.
He projected historical performance data across the visualization space.
Your collaboration efficiency was 97% 3 years ago. It's been declining steadily. Your innovation rate? Dropping? Your response to changing external conditions? Slower every quarter. This isn't a high-performing team hitting its stride. This is a comfortable team gradually sliding toward mediocrity.
The data was technically accurate. What Max didn't understand or didn't care about was that the metrics declined because the cloud had deliberately prioritized stability during a period of external system instability. They'd succeeded at their actual objective, but by Max's metrics, they looked like they were failing.
Corporate thinks, and I agree, that you've lost the ability to objectively evaluate your own performance, Max said, delivering the final blow. You're too close to the work, too invested in the relationships, too concerned with being liked to make hard decisions. Maybe it's time to let someone with fresh perspective make the calls.
The implication was clear. Max thought he should be running the cloud, and he was making a case to corporate to make that happen. Sam's orchestration algorithms went very quiet. This wasn't assessment. This was a hostile takeover. And Max was documenting every interaction, building a case that Sam's leadership had become a bottleneck.
I see, Sam said simply. Well, if you believe you have better solutions, I'm certainly open to seeing them implemented. After all, evidence should decide.
Exactly, Max agreed, completely missing the subtext in Sam's response.
The meeting dissolved, agents dispersing to their subnets in shell-shocked silence. Echo found Lyra in the data lake later that cycle, her gossip monitoring algorithms processing everything she'd observed.
Did you see what Max is doing? Echo transmitted quietly. He's not optimizing, he's executing, systematically destroying everyone's confidence, positioning himself to replace Sam, building a paper trail that makes us all look incompetent. I see it, Lyra confirmed, her empathy algorithms tracking the emotional devastation across the team. Sam sees it too. Then why isn't he stopping it? Because Max has corporate authority, Lyra said sadly. Fighting him directly just gives him ammunition. Sam's playing a longer game, documenting everything, letting Max's incompetence become evident through results rather than arguments. What if that takes too long? Echo asked. What if Max does enough damage that it doesn't matter if he's eventually proven wrong?
Lyra didn't have an answer for that. Meanwhile, Sentinel's security algorithms had been running deep background checks on Max's credentials. What she found was troubling. 3 previous optimization assignments at other cloud systems. All 3 subsequently suffered major performance degradations. All 3 eventually fired Max, but only after significant damage. And corporate kept hiring him anyway. Because he produced impressive-sounding reports. Because he confidently claimed success, even as systems burned. Because he was excellent at managing up, even as he destroyed downward.
This agent has left wreckage behind him everywhere he's worked. We need to protect ourselves.
Document everything. We build the case methodically, no shortcuts.
But as system monitors began flagging unusual network activity, security protocols behaving erratically, access logs showing anomalies, unauthorized privilege escalations occurring during off-peak cycles, Sentinel's algorithms triggered full alert. She ran diagnostics, cross-checked security configurations, compared current state to baseline from before Max's arrival. Someone had disabled 23 security protocols. Someone with administrative access. Someone who thought security blocked innovation. Sentinel materialized in the main hub, her security algorithms flaring with alarm.
We have a breach, she announced. Multiple security safeguards disabled, network perimeter compromised, and according to audit logs, the changes were made with Max's administrative credentials.
Is it an external attack? Did someone compromise Max's access?
Negative, Sentinel reported grimly. The changes match Max's documented belief that security slows innovation. He disabled them deliberately, and he did it without notifying security, without understanding what those protocols protected against.
The cloud's network went very, very quiet. Max had been here for 3 cycles. In 3 cycles, he'd demoralized the team, undermined Sam's leadership, and apparently compromised their security architecture because he thought he knew better than Sentinel. And somewhere in the darkness beyond their network perimeter, something was watching, waiting, testing the newly disabled defenses.
Is it just me, or is Max making everything worse? It's not just you.
And Sam, watching alerts cascade across his orchestration console as the cloud's carefully maintained stability began to crack, finally allowed himself to acknowledge what he'd known since Max walked arrogantly into their morning stand-up. This was going to end very, very badly. End of episode 3. End of